Every invention you've ever heard of has two stories, the one everyone repeats and the one almost nobody talks about. We love the winner, the billionaire, the genius, the face in the history books. But somewhere nearby there is usually another person, someone who had the idea first, built it, tested it, proved it could work, and then watched someone else walk away with it. Because ideas don't survive on brains alone. They survive on money, on lawyers, on timing, on power. Today we're not following the famous legends, we're following the people who lost. If stories like this interest you, subscribe now. Because once you start seeing how often this happens, you'll never look at innovation the same way again. Let's begin. The first story is Nikola Tesla versus Thomas Edison. New York City, 1884. A young engineer arrives with almost nothing. In his pocket is a letter to the most famous inventor in America, Thomas Edison. The letter says, "I know two great men. You are one of them. The other is this young man." Edison hires him on the spot. Tesla is brilliant. He can build machines in his head. He sees problems like other people see colors. Edison's system runs on direct current. It works, but only across short distances. Tesla says there is a better way. Alternating current, it can travel farther, power entire cities. Edison listens, then he makes a promise. "Fix my generators and I'll pay you $50,000. So Tesla works. Weeks turn into months, the designs improve, the system becomes stronger. Finally, Tesla asks for the money. Edison laughs. "Tesla, you don't understand American humor. There is no payment." Tesla quits that day. For a year, one of the greatest minds in the world digs ditches for $2 a day. Then he meets George Westinghouse. Westinghouse believes in AC power. And suddenly Edison is in danger. What Edison does next is not science, it's fear. He stages public electrocutions of animals using AC. He tells newspapers it is deadly. He supports the electric chair using Tesla's system so people will connect AC with death. But the truth wins. AC is better. It spreads across the country. It powers the future. Yet today, when people think of invention, whose name comes first? Edison. Tesla dies alone in a hotel room, broke, feeding pigeons. If you want more stories about how history picks its heroes, make sure to subscribe, because the next one shows how being second by just hours can change everything. This is Alexander Graham Bell versus Elisha Gray. February 14th, 1876. Two men arrive in the patent office. Both have designs for the telephone. Bell gets there first, Gray arrives later, just a few hours. That's the distance between world famous and forgotten. Bell receives the patent. Gray is turned away. But questions start almost immediately. Gray's team believes Bell saw their design. Years later, people notice something strange. Bell's early version didn't work, but after that day, it suddenly does. A key detail appears, the same one Gray had. Gray fights in court, but Bell now has investors, headlines, momentum. The company grows too big to stop. Gray fades away. But there's another man, Antonio Meucci. Years earlier, he built a voice device in his workshop, but patents cost money. He couldn't afford them. His protection expired. Then Bell filed. Meucci tried to fight back. Evidence disappeared. Witnesses died. The case collapsed. More than 100 years later, people would admit Meucci mattered. But history had already chosen Bell. And once the world agrees on a name, it rarely changes. Now, if you think that kind of thing only happened in the 1800s, don't relax. The next story is modern, and maybe even worse. This is Philo Farnsworth versus RCA San Francisco, 1927. A young inventor stands in a tiny lab. He is 21. On the screen in front of him, a line appears. It's simple, but it works. He has created electronic television. Experts at huge companies said it couldn't be done. He just did it. Farnsworth files patents. Then a visitor arrives, Vladimir Zworykin from RCA, the biggest electronics company in the country. Farnsworth is proud. He shows him everything, how it works, how it will change the world. Zworykin leaves. Soon after, RCA starts building the same system. Farnsworth sues. At first he wins, but RCA knows how to wait. They delay, appeal, stretch time, because one day the patents will expire, and then they won't owe him anything. They almost make it. Farnsworth finally forces a payment, but not for long. When television becomes huge, RCA is the face everyone remembers. Farnsworth becomes invisible. He dies feeling erased. And the craziest part? The same thing is about to happen again, only this time in Silicon Valley. If you like discovering the hidden fights behind famous companies, subscribe, because this next one changed the computer you're probably using right now. This is Xerox, Apple, and Microsoft. 1979. Inside a research lab, engineers build something magical. Computers with pictures, windows, icons, a mouse, no confusing code. It's the future. Then a visitor comes. Steve Jobs. He watches for minutes and understands everything. He goes back to Apple. Build this, he says. Soon Apple releases machines that look just like what he saw. Xerox sues, they lose, because they showed it willingly. But wait, another visitor had been watching Apple. Bill Gates. He returns to Microsoft. Windows is born. Jobs is furious. Gates says something famous. We both stole from Xerox. Today, billions use these ideas. Most people have no clue where they started. And if that feels unfair, the final story proves the age of the internet didn't fix anything. This is Mark Zuckerberg and the Winklevoss twins. Harvard, 2003. The twins want a student network. They need a programmer. They meet Zuckerberg. They tell him everything. Then he goes quiet. Emails stop. Weeks later, he launches his own site, the Facebook. It explodes. The twins are shocked. They sue. Years pass. Finally, a settlement. $65 million. Sounds big until Facebook becomes worth hundreds of billions. Zuckerberg builds an empire. The twins become the guys who almost had it. Was it theft? Was it coincidence? People still argue. But history has already picked its winner. So what's the pattern? The first person imagines it, the second person funds it, the third person scales it, and somewhere in between, credit moves. We want simple heroes, but invention is messy, because having the idea is only part of it. Protecting it is another. Selling it is another. Owning the story might be the biggest part of all. Tesla, Mucci, Gray, Farnsworth, the Xerox engineers, the Winklevoss twins, they all touch the future. But someone else signed their name on it. The winners weren't always the smartest. They were the fastest, the strongest, the most prepared for war. So next time someone says, this person invented that, ask a second question. Who almost did? Because behind every famous name there is usually a shadow. And sometimes the shadow was there first.